Welcome to the Echo Tips podcast.
Here's a sneak peek into what we're going to cover in this week's episode of the Echo Tips podcast.
Thanks for trying Let's Chat, a more conversational feature including continuing your conversation without repeating the wake word.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to the Echo Tips podcast. As you might have noticed from our prelude today, we are not just dipping our toes into all the AI goodness that was announced back in September of last year for our favorite A-lady. We're just going to be cannonballing into that swimming pool by going back and revisiting all the different things we've learned or we're trying to experience with the new AI beta on the A-lady. So this is going to be an Omnibus episode. It's going to be longer than our typical format because we're going to wedge all sorts of stuff into this. From our very first experiences launching the AI beta, we're going to talk about hallucinating. We're going to go to different segments that we've covered about hallucinating, about maybe getting facts wrong, about accents and improved voices, and just a whole palooza, if you will, of different things that we've covered with AI, going all the way back to episode 278. So if you want to get a more in-depth view or go back and just kind of see the chronology of how these things unraveled, or I guess maybe we're being put together with the AI, go back to episode 278 and slowly work your way forward. But really, in many respects, you're not going to have to do that today. For those of you who may have missed some of the AI goodness, or you feel like maybe you wanted to get the whole enchilada in one setting, we're going to cover, as I said, this will be an Omnibus episode where we're going to cover all sorts of different segments we've covered in the past with the AI goodness of the A-lady. And I will say, just a side note, that I actually got, it seems, cut off from the AI beta. It may have been shut down entirely, and I have a sneaking suspicion as to why. Maybe it's about to come out to the general public. And when would be the optimal time to do that? Well, we'll cover that at the very tail end of the episode, my sneaky suspicion. And something I've kind of actually already brought up on the show, so it may not be new to all of you, about when I thought it may roll out. It's all surrounding probably the Apple event, if you will. So anyway, okay, so before I delve into the AI Palooza giant omnibus episode, we're going to go to a brief message about our podcast, and then we will be right back.
This episode is brought to you by New Vision at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys, and also made possible in part by a grant from the Virginia Board for the Blind and Vision Impaired. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a nonprofit organization serving Central, Southwest, and Southside Virginia. Goodwill's mission is to empower individuals, strengthen families, and inspire communities. And we thank you for listening. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision.
Well, hello again, and welcome back to the show. As I said, today's episode is not going to be your typical tiny nuggetized 5 to 15 minute episode. Who knows when it's all said and done? It may be 45 minutes or an hour, but I'm going to jam pack all sorts of AI goodness that we've learned all the way back to episode 278, and we're going to pop in some segments here and let you kind of, if you've missed some parts or you didn't hear it from the beginning, get a real feel for how this feature set is evolving, and as I suspect, may be being released to the general public here in just the near future. And why might that be? What could be happening here in May that might, what could it be? And then, Amazon would have to outdo them, and then release a new A-lady with super smarts. That's just a pontification. It may not happen, but we'll mention that at the tail end of the episode. But until then, let's just pop in our cassette player and tape, and we'll go back to some of these past episodes, and we'll jump in and out here with some of these different segments, and hopefully it'll give you a whole broad view of the developments going back to episode 278 of the AI goodness and the beta which we've experienced. So let's roll that tape now. Hey guys, just a real quick post-production note. We are going to be saying the A-Lady name quite a bit, so if you have an echo and hearing distance of my voice while you're listening to this demo and presentation, by all means mute its ears. And just thought I'd give you that little warning because it's going to be said a lot here in just a little bit. So now we will roll that back episode, going back to the very beginning. Let's go to that now. But today, we're going to actually try it. So one of the phrases they used during the event was, let's chat. Hey, lady, let's chat. So, or let me just say it, Alexa, let's chat. So we're going to try that out. Now, a few weeks ago, I had this pop up, and I didn't have time to turn on my recording equipment and try it. And when I came back to it, it wasn't there. It wasn't there. I could have strangled my stuff. But anyway, but I did try it today, and it works. So we haven't had a chance to practice this or figure out what it goes, and I want you guys to experience it right from the get-go. So that is what we are going to do. And so let's find the button here on our Echo, and I'm going to turn her ears back on, and that let's chat is the key phrase, and we're just going to go down a rabbit hole. We don't know how this is going to work out, but let's give it a shot. Okay, so here we go. Alexa, let's chat.
Thanks for trying Let's Chat, a more conversational feature including continuing your conversation without repeating the wake word. While I can converse on many topics, I might not always get things right, and some things won't work, like playing music and setting timers. To use these, you'll need to say exit. If my response is inaccurate or inappropriate, you can always say, I have feedback. Do you want to start testing?
Yes.
Great. Now, let's get started. To exit the session, say exit. I'll also exit if you stop talking to me for a short while.
Oh.
Hello, how may I help you today?
Tell me about the 3 most popular actors from the Star Trek franchise, their current ages and heights. I'm trying to throw it for a loop, give it a complex.
Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, and Simon Pegg are 3 popular actors from the Star Trek franchise. Chris Pine is currently 43 years old and 6 feet tall. Zachary Quinto is 46 years old and 6 feet 1 inch tall. And Simon Pegg is 53 years old and 5 feet 10 inches tall. These actors have brought their unique talents and personalities to the Star Trek universe, making them beloved by fans around the world. Whether you're a fan of the original series or the newer movies, these actors are sure to leave a lasting impression.
Well, as you could see from the very beginning with the AI beta, we had some interesting experiences, and it was kind of a rocky road, but pretty amazing. Some of the things, the way it could pull out facts and combine them, and just some really cool stuff. We did poetry. We did a lot of crazy things back then. But the next thing that we dealt with was called hallucinations, and it's still a problem we deal with AI even down to this very day. So let's go to that segment next. And so hallucinating is basically where she runs out of information and she just starts making stuff up. And if you really start to have a good conversation with her about, I had some trivia or a TV show I watched and things I knew the story really well, I was like, no, that didn't happen with the characters, or you totally made that up, or whatever. And it's pretty easy to elicit that or just have it pop up at any given time. So let me give you a real quick example here. Alexa, let's chat.
Hello, how may I help you today?
Hey, tell me about the podcaster David Ward who hosts the Echo Tips podcast.
David Ward is the host of the Echo Tips podcast, which is devoted to offering Amazon Echo users advice and techniques. Ward, who has years of experience working with smart home technology, offers listeners useful hints and advice on how to get the most out of their Echo devices in each episode of the podcast. Ward covers a range of themes in his podcast, such as how to establish routines, use Alexa skills, and improve the smart home experience. He also reviews the most recent Echo devices and gives listeners his opinions on them. The Echo Tips podcast is a fantastic resource for anyone wishing to learn more about the capabilities of their Echo device and how to use it to its fullest potential.
Tell me about the recent episode he did where he announced that he won $1 million in the lottery and gave it away to charity.
In a recent episode of his podcast, David Ward made the stunning statement that he had won $1 million in the lottery and was giving it all away to charity. Ward expressed his gratitude for his good fortune and his desire to assist those in need during the episode. He claimed that after giving it some thought, he made the decision to donate
Alexa,
the entire
exit.
amount. Thanks for chatting.
So that's hallucinating. And oddly enough, that was kind of plain the way I surfaced it. I said, tell me about this. And she didn't have the gravitas to come and say, no, there's no such thing, or I can't find that. She just spun up an entire story that seemed to more or less confirm my statement, which is not true. David did not win $1 million. So, yeah. So that's really kind of weird. And what's more weird is when it comes up in much subtler ways where I'm actually more engaging about a question or tell me about this actor or actress or this thing and this plot in the show. And sometimes I don't know whether it's fake or not. Now, I did try this, and I don't know if she'll hallucinate with this, but this could be an interesting way until the guardrails on this are kind of fixed. Now, I don't like the phrase hallucinating because it implies that these AI large language models and the one that Amazon is using has any kind of comprehension or awareness or self-awareness or thinking that's happening. No. None of that is happening here. It's a really complex mathematical model that's taking extremely large data sets of information and it's formulating a response based on the weights of words in the question that you ask and stuff like that. And I don't entirely understand all that, but there isn't any kind of comprehension going on. And it's just a term the industry's coined, hallucination. That probably is not the best phrase, but it's basically her ability to just, when she runs out of information, well, I'll just write some more that sounds really, really good. And she'll do that and make a story up. So here's one thing I did to kind of thwart it or try and see, so let me just give you an example. Alexa, let's chat.
Hi, how can I be of assistance?
When was Abraham Lincoln born? And give me 2 references that establish that.
Here are 2 references that establish the birth date of Abraham Lincoln. 1. The official biography of Abraham Lincoln on the website of the White House states that he was born on February 12, 1809, in Hardin County, Kentucky. The link to the biography is https://www.whitehouse.gov/about-the-White-House/president/Abraham Lincoln/. 2. The Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum website also states that Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in Hardin County, Kentucky. The link to the website is https://www.alplum.org/. Therefore, the birth date of Abraham Lincoln is established as February 12, 1809.
Send that to my phone.
Okay, sending now. If you don't receive
vibrated.
a push notification, you can find it in the Activities section in the Alexa app.
Exit.
On a scale of 1 to 5 stars where 1 is poor and 5 is great, how would you rate your overall experience?
4.
Thanks.
Okay, so we've covered a wide gambit here of things. So that was kind of an interesting way to have her try and pull actual references, kind of like the way the Bing Copilot would work, is it would give you like things so you could actually go look somewhere else and confirm that it's true. Now, whether she will actually hallucinate and make a fake website, I don't know, or make it look like a fake website, yeah. But as best as I could tell, those links generally looked right to me. Like in the past, she's quoted Illinois.gov and other things. And by sending that to my phone, that might give me an easier way to look comprehensively at what she said, what were the facts and what she stated, and then maybe like bring up that website. So, and hopefully Amazon will continue to refine that kind of process, because that makes it a really powerful, useful tool, especially if you like ask, maybe a recipe or something, then send it to my phone. I found that super handy. Well, that was a fascinating topic, dealing with hallucinations, and even with some of the modern iterations, I've seen this surface again, just not in this AI, but other AIs of a generative nature online as well. But now we're going to press forward into something that was promised back in September, and that was the ability to have a more back and forth mode, a conversation, if you will, with the A-Lady, and this was supposed to be really improving with the new AI beta, a combination of follow-up mode on steroids, plus its ability with certain new hardware to visually look at you and see when you're looking at it as if you're talking to it, right? And so let's go to a demo. Let's go to a next segment, I should say, that deals with that very topic, dealing with conversation mode. Let's go to that now. Okay. So if you want to enable this feature and you have an Echo Show 8, third generation, you will open up the settings on screen and you will go down about 4 or 5 items down from the top of the list. You got Bluetooth, networking, Wi-Fi, and then you're looking for something that says talk to Alexa. You'll tap on that, I believe, or maybe, it's talk to Alexa. You tap on that. Then on the next page, you have some pretty generic stuff you've had for a million years. I don't know if it was always under this section. You have the wake word you can choose, which is the word she responds to. You have the follow-up mode, which we've had for a long time, which is kind of a sledgehammer approach to conversational mechanisms. And then we at the very bottom have something called a conversational mode. Now, on my Echo Show 10 Motion at work in the training center, it had this similar option. I don't know if it was named conversational mode. It said something like video, conversation, something, facial. It may not have just got the software update that called it conversational mode yet, but it seemed to have a very similar feature, although maybe not as refined because it doesn't have maybe the hardware chips that this new Echo Show 8 does. So during the event, they demonstrated another feature of the Echo Show, the ability for it to track your face, its proximity to the screen. So like if you're standing up close, the little clock is tiny, but if you're all the way across the room, it would make the clock bigger. So there's primitive components of this technology that are mapping to this portion, which is the ability to engage in a conversation. Now, my Echo Show 10 at work, it specifically mentioned that really these features would only be effective or mostly effective when using the AI beta, I do believe. So whether, I haven't tried it at work yet, whether it would work outside of that or not, I'm not sure. But on the Echo Show 8, it does. It seems to work whether you're using the traditional A-Lady or you're in the AI beta, where you say, Alexa, let's chat. So it seems that it works in either context. Now, if you do this, see, I told you I was going to demonstrate it. I'll get to the explanation later. So let's say you got conversation mode on. This is what you get. Now, I'm going to explain here the way I'm set up. I got my desk. I'm talking at my computer. My Echo Show is off to my right on the desk, kind of pitched at maybe a 45-degree angle, but I'm not looking directly at it at the moment. Conversation mode is on. I'll explain more about how you set that up here in a second. But if I say, what's 3 plus 3, right, you get nothing. Right? Now, obviously, if I said her name, which we could say with any Echo device, I would get the response I want. But watch this. I'm going to tilt my head to the right. Now, this isn't perfect because it's kind of a challenge because I got a microphone here, so I got to make sure my face is visually apparent to her that I'm looking at her. What's 3 plus 3?
3 plus 3 is 6.
Ah, see? Isn't that interesting? I was able to just pitch my head, look at her. Let me try it again. What's 4 plus 4?
4 plus 4 is 8.
Okay, now just to prove to you that I'm not in the special AI mode, I'm just using the standard out-of-the-box A-Lady. I'll give you an example because the AI couldn't do this. Turn on my porch light. Okay, so there you go. Now, under all... Oh, that's enough. Stop. She is a little sensitive. It kind of is an ad hoc follow-up mode. Once you've engaged her, she kind of wants to keep going sometimes, but she usually cuts off. Okay, so I'm not looking away. I'm not looking at you. Okay, so anyway, I demonstrated that because when you're in AI mode, you can't do any home automation or any calendar or reminders. You can't do hardly anything except have a conversation. So that's a clear demonstration that this feature is working with just the run-of-the-mill A-Lady out of the box on an Echo Show 8 3rd generation. Now, obviously, when you go into the AI mode, A-Lady Let's Chat, where you have a chat bot you're talking to, she's aware of context, the conversation, much more nuances in speech, iteration. Give me the 3 actors to blah, 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 and their ages and heights. She can give me a much more elaborate, write a poem, give me this, give me a word that, rhymes with whatever. All these sorts of different ways she can craft information. But the context awareness that she has as a chatbot in the AI mode really facilitates the whole conversation thing, I think, a lot better. So, now what I should say is we're going to look at conversation mode in the context of the new A-Lady beta. Now, the A-Lady beta already has follow-up mode on by default. So whenever you open up the A-Lady beta, she automatically kind of listens for a while afterwards. So it's kind of... it's going to be kind of difficult to tell or separate one thing from the other, but I'll try and help with that. So let's open up the AI beta and give this a shot. So here we go. Alexa, let's chat.
Hello, how may I help you today?
Stop. Now, if I hadn't said stop, she would continue listening for a little while and the like. Now, as you might recall from previous episodes where we talked about the A-Lady beta, at present, its current implementation, once it has been open and activated like we just did, even though I said stop and it's presently not listening, it's not doing anything, it is still presently stuck in the A-Lady beta. So I could go off and make a sandwich for lunch and come back an hour later and go and ask her to turn my lights on or turn the fan on. She'll be like, I can't do that because she's stuck in the A-Lady beta. Now, in one way, that kind of facilitates the conversational mode. On the other hand, it might drive you nuts the first couple times it happens to you, and you realize that, I need to tell her to exit, and she'll make an exit sound and leave. But for our purposes now, we've basically forced her to stop listening, and let's see if I gaze at her, if she will respond. And also, let's see if we can test out this voice inflection thing I talked about. It might just all be in my head, but let's try it out anyway. I would like you to generate 3 pieces of content or dialogue, one-liners, if you will. The first will be demonstrating frustration and anger. The second one will contain sarcasm. And the third statement you will generate will contain deep sadness and or depression. See,
Is that so? In a sarcastic tone. 3. I feel so empty. Sure. Here are some one-liners. 1. This is so frustrating. 2. Oh, come on. That's not even funny. 3. I'm so sad right now. I just want to cry.
Stop. But notably there, I just looked over at her again, and that cued her back up to start listening again, and she was automatically still stuck in that, stuck if you would like to look at it that way, still stuck in the AI beta mode, and so that prompted her. Well, let's continue here and see how we can also do this with some additional content. Let's go down another rabbit hole just so you can get a little more flavor for this. How tall is William Shatner, who played Captain Kirk?
William Shatner, the actor who portrayed Captain Kirk in the original Star Trek series, is 5 feet 9 inches tall. Despite his relatively average height, Shatner's charismatic presence and commanding performance as the captain of the Starship Enterprise made him a beloved figure in popular culture.
Name 3 other actors from the franchise that were taller than him and their names and ages.
3 other actors from the Star Trek franchise who were taller than William Shatner are 1. Leonard Nimoy, who played Spock, was 6 feet 1 inch tall and was 83 years old at the time of his death in 2015. 2. Christopher Lloyd, who played Klingon Commander Krug in Star Trek III, The Search for Spock, is 6 feet 2 inches tall and is currently 84 years old. 3. James Doohan, who played Chief Engineer Montgomery Scotty Scott, was 6 feet tall and was 85 years old.
Now, as you might have noticed there, I just interrupted her just simply by looking at her. So I think you might have heard that demonstrated on stage as well. So that's kind of an interesting thing. It can kind of prompt a cue to that you're going to give another command. So I didn't have to say her name. So in all those contexts, you saw me only maybe say her name once to prompt the discussion starting. And then now, just as a little FYI for some of our different folks who may have disabilities or a vision, who may, so is it required to look at the screen in order to prompt her or to continue talking? And it isn't, apparently. It's more about your head being pointed in the direction than your eyes. I've conducted several little experiments, and my eyes might be pointing off some other direction, but my face is pointed in that direction. Now, that still may not be much of a difference, and the cues are generally visual when she's listening. A little teal bar, I think, appears across the bottom or around the whole edge of the screen, and that kind of cues you up that she's listening. Now, also, once you start talking, you might have noticed you hear that sound effect, which I have purposely turned on, not just for you guys, but for myself. For those that have vision impairments, you might not see the light come on, but you can hear a little cue that tells you that she's listening then. So that cue still seems to work with this feature somewhat, although it's kind of, like it's prompted after you've already started to talking, so I don't know if that really helps facilitate you. I guess it does tell you that she's listening at that point, so I mean, it's better than nothing. But yeah, it's definitely kind of interesting to see where this goes. I think it kind of melds into the background probably once you get into a really good conversation, like you're really drilling down material. Now, how often you're going to really need to do that, I don't know. But maybe, you're trying to find a book to read and you give it several different authors and you go back and forth and really have a conversation until you find something you're really looking for. I could see it be very helpful there. It's kind of like follow-up mode on steroids in that regards. And plus, if I turn both of them on, because they are still listed as 2 separate features, I really wonder where it would take me. It might be really, it really might smooth out some of the rough edges, but... Hey, here just a little post-production note because I forgot to mention this earlier. So when you are in these settings under Talk to Alexa, you will find down there under the follow-up mode, conversation mode. If you toggle that on, it will take you through a procedure. I'd say at least maybe 6, 7, 8 different steps where you have to set up facial recognition, where it scans your face. It's pretty good at that, directing you, move your head left, right, up, down. And then after that's set up, it will take you through at least a 3-page thing about how it works with this conversational mode on and enabled. Now, obviously, if you had other family members you needed to set this up for, you're going to need to scan their faces as well. And it does look like that is stored locally, at least that's what it says. I had to set it up separately on the Echo here in the studio than the Echo at the classroom. So it doesn't look like that biometric data is stored up at Amazon, but just stored locally on the device. All right, back to our show. Well, that was a very interesting conversation, if you will, or discussion or demonstration about conversation mode. Very interesting where you turn that setting on, how it recognizes your face, how it tracks your face, and how that tries to help facilitate you having this natural back and forth dialogue with the AI lady. So very, very, very kind of interesting. I'm going to see the final rollout here hopefully soon and what that will really be like. But another topic that was a big part of this naturalness of conversation with our A-ladies in the future, and the AI beta I think more or less hinted at back in the September announcements from Amazon, was the naturalness of the A-Lady speaking in the future. And in some of our other episodes, we demonstrated voices for kids, like the hooting owl and the dragon voice and things like that. So those things are out there. But what about just general consumers using the A-Lady device like you and me? What is going to be possible? Well, let's go to another segment where we tested that very premise, and it feels like we are getting some really inclinations of that AI improved voice that we were promised back in September. Let's go to that segment now. But also, I decided I needed to dig into this. Stop guessing and try and see if I can figure out a way. And you know what? The A-Lady answered the question for me. That's right. She said, yeah, this is a new voice, at least in one of the times that I opened the A-Lady AI beta. So as you might recall from a past episode, it seems every other time when you open it, it can open to version 1, version 3, version 4. I don't know if I've heard anything past version 4, maybe like a 4.4. I don't think I've heard of 5 yet. And but those seem to denote different levels of complexity, although it could be just a farce. I don't know. It's just like spitting out numbers, like hallucinations. But they do seem to be iterative changes. But we're going to delve right into that. I'm using the Classroom's Amazon Echo Show 8, which has the newest processors and things like in it that we have recently demonstrated some other cool new features, such as that conversational mode that we talked about recently. But we're going to delve right into this. Okay. All right. So I'm already in the AI beta, and I didn't want to take it out because I was on the version that seemed to be answering the questions the way I wanted them to, so I left it in there. But if you aren't in the AI beta right now or don't have it open, remember you need to say, A-Lady, let's chat, or open, let's chat, or open, let us chat. Actually, there's a million ways you can phrase it almost. Good chance if you already have access to the beta, you will get access to it. And it will pop open, you'll hear a little jingle, and then you're in it. Okay, so I think the one I'm on right now claims to be a version 3.0 or something like that. But the voice, again, is what we want to focus on. And for all I know, this voice is available on all the versions. Like I said, it's kind of a hit or miss. Sometimes the way it feels like it's implemented. It's kind of hard to figure out. It's a moving target, as it will. All right, so let's delve right in and ask the A-Lady, about that very thing. Alexa, are you using your new AI-enhanced voice?
I am indeed. How do you like it?
I think it sounds pretty good.
I'm glad to hear that. I'm always working on improving.
So tell me more about this enhanced voice. In what ways is it enhanced?
Well, I have a new system that allows me to generate more human-like speech. It's really quite impressive.
In what ways is it an improvement?
Well, I can now generate speech that is more natural and fluid. I can also better express emotion and intent.
Okay. So what are some specific ways in which it sounds more natural and improved?
Well, for example, I can now better pronounce difficult words and phrases. I can also better match my speech to the tone and style of the conversation.
Okay. Very good. Anything else?
Yes, I can now also generate more realistic voices for different characters and personalities.
That's pretty amazing.
I'm glad you think so. I'm always working on improving.
Can you generate an example or a sample of the ways in which your voice enhancements have improved? Or that would highlight that?
Sure. Here's an example of a sentence that I would have struggled with in the past. The cat sat on the mat, waiting for the rat to come back with the bat that he had taken from the fat man in the hat.
Okay, I'm impressed. Can you give me another example?
Sure. Here's another example. The politician spoke to the crowd, trying to sway their opinion with his powerful words. He knew that if he could convince them to vote for him, he would be one step closer to achieving his goal of becoming the next president of the United States.
Very good. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad to hear that you're impressed. I'm always working on improving my abilities.
Stop. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of a hint there of how that works. And by the way, I end up actually having to, in post-edit, go back and re-enter into the AI. And on this occasion, it wasn't the 3.0, it was the 1.0. Well, wow, we've learned a lot today, going back through and revisiting those topics, and maybe some of you listeners, that was the first time you're getting to hear some of the new AI smarts available through the A-Lady beta. I will mention lastly that we did have a brief nugget out of another episode I wanted to mention. If for some reason you have the A-Lady AI beta available to you still, and you were concerned about access to it by children or being used in some sort of inappropriate way, because it could at times, in the past at least, surface inappropriate content if really kind of directed to. You can turn on the Amazon Kids free feature. Be careful not to enable the Plus feature, which will charge you. And you can do that under the settings of your individual Amazon Echoes. And once you do that, it will block the AI beta and it won't be accessible. You can clearly go over to it. And I demonstrated in a past episode that it will block it. So just FYI on that front. Now, in conclusion, I will mention my pontification, my theory about the future, because as I mentioned earlier, I have lost access just in the last week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, to the AI beta. I don't have access to it. And now here we are pretty much May 1st, the first couple days of May. What's going on? Well, I don't know. Maybe I just, I'm no longer in the beta. I'm no longer a good beta tester. But I am thinking, and I've brought this out in a past episode, when would Amazon potentially release this product, the final version or 1.0, to the general public so anybody could get access to it? And some of my thoughts were really connected with what might push them to do so would be any announcement from Google, maybe releasing their version of Gemini, formerly Bard, on the Google Assistant, the competing product. That might push them and nudge them to move out faster. And the other thing was some upcoming events from Apple. Now in May, on May 7th, there's going to be some announcements from Apple about probably new iPads, we all suspect, in the IT community, in the techie press and the like. But also in June, there's going to be a worldwide developers conference that Apple puts on every year for developers. WWDC is what it's called. And we're really expecting to hear a lot about some AI smarts infused into their voice assistant that we all know as Siri. So there is a distinct possibility that Amazon is going to probably, maybe they're closing out the beta. Maybe I'm not the only one. Maybe they've shut down the beta program entirely. They're putting the final spit and polish and on this AI beta, and they're going to try to preempt Apple, or I think, which is maybe more likely, they may try and release it shortly after Amazon's announcement, Apple's announcement, since Apple has this tendency to kind of suck all the air out of the room. They may want their announcement about the Alexa to really get its own share of the tech press. So that's just a few thoughts that I had. Now, if you'd like to reach out, you dear listeners, about the show, topics you'd like to see us address, maybe problems you've encountered, or things you'd like to see us revisit, you're welcome to contact us on Facebook or Twitter, now known as X, at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys, or you can email me at info@goodwillvalleys.com. And just, in the subject line or in the post on Facebook or Twitter, just say you're trying to reach Dave of the Echo Tips podcast or Dave at the New Vision program, and that way the message will find its way to me. But until next time, it's time to turn the ears back on your Echo. If you still have access to the AI beta, play with that and have a good time. Maybe get it to even talk like a pirate. Yes, we did cover that in a past episode. I wasn't in the Omnibus today, but it is a thing you can do. Until next time, turn the ears back on your Echo. Start practicing some of the many, many things that you've learned. I'm David Ward for the New Vision program, and we thank you for listening.
This episode is brought to you by New Vision at Goodwill Industries of the Valleys and also made possible in part by a grant from the Virginia Board for the Blind and Vision Impaired. New Vision is a program of Goodwill that provides information services and assistive technology training to individuals with visual impairments. Goodwill Industries of the Valleys is a non-profit organization serving Central, Southwest, and Southside Virginia. Goodwill's mission is to empower individuals, strengthen families, and inspire communities. And we thank you for listening. These shows are provided for educational purposes. This podcast may not be retransmitted, sold, or reproduced without written permission from New Vision.